We're widely exposed to foods that our bodies can't efficiently digest or can't process efficiently enough, which then leads to chronic diseases when we keep eating them anyway, through no fault of our own, because these food items are literally everywhere. Hi, I'm Dr. Sarah-Nicole Bostan, clinical health psychologist and director of behavior change strategy at Signos. If you're here, you probably buy into the fact that what you eat can influence how you feel. But did you know that what you eat can impact not only your mood, but measurable markers of your brain health, cognitive functioning, and behaviors? This is the difference between subjective experience and objective health markers. Quick note on this: subjective experience refers to how you feel, and nobody can disprove that or say you shouldn't feel that way. But it's much harder to quantify, which is why the field of mental health can be such a challenge, since there are no clear biomarkers we can manipulate to reliably and repeatedly change someone's lived experience. Objective experience refers to things we can measure through neuropsychological tests, physical exams, or wearables, like attention, concentration, working memory, language, and conceptual thinking abilities. Objective data also includes things like the numbers you see when you weigh yourself on a scale, blood pressure, heart rate, your glucose, how many hours you slept last night, and more. Imbalances in the gut microbiome have been linked to chronic mood dysfunction, worse neuropsychological profiles, including earlier onset of memory-related disorders like dementia or Alzheimer's, and common health problems in the US like type 2 diabetes or obesity. Importantly, you need both your subjective and objective data to help make sense of your overall health picture, because it's not enough to rely on data alone, and it's certainly not enough to put all your eggs in the basket of how you feel without the hard data to help put it in context, because how you feel can trick you sometimes. More and more health research is pointing us to the fact that weight isn't as comprehensive of a tell on health as we previously thought, even though it's still used as a proxy for health in medicine. But looking at gut functioning, and especially metabolic function via glucose as a mechanism, can reveal a lot more about our health status and where we're headed. To understand the gut-brain connection, we can start by looking at the evolution of food, which has not only expanded our options, but shaped our physiology, digestive systems, metabolisms, and brains. Millions of years ago, humans began making sharp tools that allowed us to become carnivores or meat eaters. After that, human beings figured out how to contain and use fire to start cooking tough, starchy, root-based foods and tubers like potatoes, sweet potatoes, cassava, and yams. Around 10,000 years ago, we started domesticating plants and using them as dependable food sources. One of the most dependable sources of food we essentially created were cereal-type grains, which became more popular in larger societies because of its shelf stability. You could make a large amount of cereal grains and store it for longer periods of time than ever before. But interestingly, where grains were most widely adopted as a food source, human beings began experiencing nutrient deficiencies and related chronic diseases. During the Industrial Revolution, not so long ago, new methods of food processing were a huge economic win. Instead of foods that would quickly rot or needed salt or fermenting to keep shelf stable, white sugar, white flour, and seed oils were created that made storage and distribution of foods cheaper and, again, much more preservable. The cheaper it became to manufacture foods and the more processed foods human beings ate, again, interestingly, the more health diseases they started experiencing. Of course, correlation does not equal causation, but this kept happening over and over again. Many research studies have linked a diet high in refined or processed foods to obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and Alzheimer's disease, which is now referred to as type 3 diabetes because of the insulin resistance that develops in the brain and poorly controlled blood sugars that can dramatically increase the risk of neurodegenerative disorders like this that are irreversible. This isn't to scare people into abandoning their occasional in-and-out habits, but to highlight the health consequences of relying on these types of processed foods. Importantly, there's what researchers and behavioral scientists call a, quote, evolutionary mismatch happening. What this means is we're widely exposed to foods that our bodies can't efficiently digest or can't process efficiently enough, which then leads to chronic diseases when we keep eating them anyway, through no fault of our own, because these food items are literally everywhere. It's true that in order to counteract this evolutionary mismatch, we have to work a little bit harder to create opportunities to live the way our bodies were designed to do, which includes a couple things. First, increase sunlight in the morning and evening especially. Second, making an effort to spend more time outside. Third, moving our bodies to stay strong, and since we live more sedentary lives. But our bodies were designed to hoard energy since it used to be harder to come by dense foods. Fourth, trying, when possible, to lean toward making whole food choices instead of processed foods, though this can be done flexibly and not obsessively, because that will paradoxically raise your stress hormone, cortisol. And fifth, sleeping consistently and at regular hours, which will also help regulate digestion and improve your glucose control. There are other ways that the gut and brain are very closely connected, like the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, through our autonomic nervous system, through hormones, through glucose, but you'll have to come back to our channel to hear more on those topics another day. Again, I'm Dr. Sarah-Nicole Bostan, Director of Behavior Change Strategy at Signos. Tune in and subscribe to our channel at Signos to learn more about metabolic health and topics like this.
Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and tap the bell icon to be the first to get more videos like this one, and stay connected with Signos.